Bezrat Hashem, continue Perek Yud, Pasuk Tedvav. Pasuk says as follows: Hon Ashir Kiryat Uzo. The wealth of the rich, it's his fortress. It's his, it's his fortress, the source of his strength. Mehitat Dalim Resham, and the poverty, right, of the poor is his ruins. Mehitat. We saw that word mehitat. Ufi evil mehitat kerova, right? That the mouth of the fool brings, to destruction, to the ruins. So here the Gaon says something beautiful, something known, but something like it's refreshing to hear it from Shlomo HaMelech. He says, "Who is the rich?" He says, "The rich is someone that bases his wealth and his strength on capital. Someone that has access to wealth, to money at all time. This is somebody that is rich. It's someone that even, says the Gaon, when there is times of need, where at times he has to deploy, he needs capital, he has to deploy money. He has an account, he has access to money, so that he's not being shooken up. Essentially, he doesn't have to sell his assets cheap in order to serve to go through the challenging time. This is somebody that is rich. However, the poverty of the poor is his ruins. Meaning what? He says, Dalim, the poor. We're not talking about somebody that was always poor. The dal, the definition of the dal, right, versus the ani, is that the dal is somebody that was once wealthy, and lo alenu, he lost his wealth. He had money and he lost his money. And why is he called dal? Because the lashon dal is dal me'achab, take away from him, right? The Gemara says dal me'acha, take away from here this idea, okay? Dal is to mean to take away. So the dal is someone that had money. With dal, and that money was taken away from him. He lost it. And when challenging times come, he finds that he doesn't have that cushion. He doesn't have this access to liquidity, and therefore the dalim, they have to sell their assets quickly, Hashem Yishmor, and cheaper, just so that they can, get through the storm. So the definition of a ashir, says the Gaon, is someone that has access to liquidity at all time. Okay, and the definition of a dal, of a poor, is someone that does not have access to liquidity, and will have to, if there is an issue, will have to sell his assets in order to get through whatever challenging time he's facing. And says the Gaon, this concept applies also in Ruhaniyut. The Talmidei Chachamim, right? The Ashir, the Talmid Chacham that is Ashir, is the Talmid Chacham that learns Torah, but retains Torah. It's his fortress, right? He holds on to what he learns, and he has access to it at all time. So when he's learning a sugya, or he's facing a situation and he needs to give an advice, or he needs to have da'at Torah, and it's a situation that he was not exposed to before, he will know how, through his learning of the Torah and through his knowledge of Torah, yes, find a solution or find an answer to his question. So the Ashir in Torah, says the Gaon, is someone that retains information, that absorbs the knowledge, and knows how to tap into it at all time, even at times of needs. However, the poor, who is the poor? It's someone that doesn't have access to yeda, to knowledge of the Torah. He doesn't retain. The things are not clear in his head. So he's a little bit lost. Yes, they don't. And the reason why a person is a dal, is poor in Torah, says the Gaon, is because when they learned, they did not have clarity and were not able to, they didn't work on memorizing and not knowing, what they're learning. Chlor, like with clarity. And he brings the Gemara in Ta'anit. The Gemara in Ta'anit brings this pasuk, that mehitat dalim resham, and he says that the Gemara says, Im ra'ita talmid shetalmudo kashe alav kebarzel. If you see a student that his learning is as difficult for him as iron, meaning he cannot understand clearly, he cannot retain properly. He says, בשביל משנתו שאינה סדורה עליו. He says it's because his Torah is not clear in his mind. זה מסודר. He doesn't have clarity. And why doesn't he have clarity? He says the Gaon, because when he learned about, be'erech, yes, approximately. He didn't take the knowledge all the way down to the bottom of thing to make sure he understands clearly to its depth what he's learning. So essentially, the Gaon comes and tells us what is the difference between a dal and a ashir, between somebody wealthy and somebody poor, or that has access to wealth and lost it. Accuracy. The more accurate you are, and the more you can retain information, and the more you have access to that information. The more you're approximate, and the less you have clarity of your knowledge, and the less access you have to that knowledge. What's interesting is that by the Ashir and the Dal, also you can apply the same concept. Somebody that's wealthy is somebody that's misudar, somebody that knows how to take capital and put it aside, understands, yes, that not everything should be used now. He's planning. He knows how to put, capital in aside, so that and he doesn't touch it, and he lets it grow, so that if Khalila a situation comes, there's access to it. The Dal is the one, okay, it's chap, whatever comes in, goes out, it's going to be okay. Berech, hakol yeh beseder. Two different perspective and outlook on life. The Chacham is the one that knows how to prepare, okay, to face any storm. Where the Dal is the one that, he takes it as it comes. When you're organized and you're thorough and you have Yirat Hashem, you want to grasp what you're learning, and you also want to make sure that you're you have a cushion, you have a safety net. It's not a lack of emunah. The opposite. It's being chacham. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects from us. Because the wealth, the capital of the Ashir Kiryat Uzo, that's his fortress. That's what gives him strength. You want to be strong, you need to have a safety net. You need to have you need to have security. How do you build security? When it comes to financial, to have reserves, and when it comes to the chokhmah, to make sure that if you want to be secure about what you've learned, you have to know it. You have to be able to have access to it all the time. So says comes to Amelech with an outlook to always make sure that you secure yourself, whether it's in chokhmah or it's financially. Any shailot before we continue? Pe'ulat tzaddik lechaim, the action of the work of the tzaddik is for life. Tevuat rasha, and the produce of the wicked, of the rasha lehatat, is for sin. Here the Gaon sends us back to his pirush in the beginning of Mishlei. If you recall, he said the following. He said that in every situation, kol davar, there are 4 parameters. You have the chomer, which is the element, and we're gonna. Then you have the tzura, the structure of the element. Then you have the poel, you have the action, and then you have the tachlit, is the purpose of the action. He says the olam hazeh, it's all about that. Okay? So you have the element, the structure of the element, the action, and the purpose. The element and its structure, says the Gaon, essentially is the essence and the title of the essence, the name of the essence. And he will bring an example afterwards. Yeah, and then you have the poel and the tachlit, the action and the purpose. The action says is the man doing the action, and the purpose is the reason why he's doing the action, the end result. So the etzem, the essence, is the midah, a trait. The way this trait is applied is awoken in a person is the tzura, right? The midah will come out in a certain way, will awake itself, will manifest itself in a certain tzura. That's the name of the midah. Then this leads to an action of the person from that midah. Okay? But all this at the end is for a certain tachlit, for a purpose. Says the Gaon as follows: Pe'ulat tzaddik, the action of the tzaddik lechaim, is for life. What does that mean? He says the following: He says at the end, when there is a trigger that leads to a behavior and an action, it must be for a specific purpose. It must be for a tachlit. So essentially, what's the most important of all this process? The purpose. Yes? Because if the purpose is missed, then the action is pointless. And if the action is not aligned with the purpose, then the action also again is pointless. He gives an example. If you plant seeds, if you work the land and you plant a seed, yes, it's in order to grow a vegetable, and then or a crop, and then bring all these grains and make something with it. So if you did work the land and you did plant the seed, but there's no grains at the end, there's no produce, it's irrelevant how hard you worked the land or how good you planted the seeds. Because all this purpose is for the outcome, for the purpose. So in the Olam HaGadol, in the big world, what's important is the end result. You go to a tailor, we gave this example in Kuwait, you go to a tailor, you tell him to make you a suit. Yes? He does halfway. He did it all, he almost made the suit. It's just missing one arm. You're not paying for the suit. Yeah. I commissioned you to make me a suit. You didn't make me a suit, you made me half a suit. It's nice. You bought the fabric and you cut it and you started sewing it, but I cannot use it. So in the Olam HaGadol, what's important is the end result. And this is what motivates behavior of people. It's the tachlit, the purpose that motivates, right, and engage people to work and move forward. That's in the world. However, by the tzaddik, even the action, the pe'ula, the poel, is lechaim, is important. Not only the end result, not only the tachlit is important, pe'ula, the action of the tzaddik, lechaim. And it's part of the ikar, it's part of the essence, it's part of the tachlit. How does that apply? Again, he gives us example. He says, we know this world, when you look into it, is a very dirty world. Yeah, you eat, makes you fat. You have to go to the bathroom. Yeah, you have a stomach ache. This is good for you. This is not good for you. Yes, the same thing with intimacy. Yes, there's a pleasure to it, but when you think about it, it's not so clean. It's not. So what's the purpose of all this? So if you look at the pleasure that you get on the moment, it's one thing, but that's definitely not the purpose. Not in the intimacy and not in the food, right? And he expresses it very clearly. So when you eat, you might eat something that's very tasty, but that's going to hurt you at the end. Somebody that's diabetic, he loves chocolate or he loves sweets. Now, if the purpose of eating is the pleasure that you get, then let the diabetic die afterwards. He got his pleasure. He ate his sweets. He enjoyed it. Okay, whatever collateral damage that come after. But if that's the tachlit, that's the purpose of eating. He fulfilled his purpose. So says the guy, it's obvious that that's not the purpose, right? The purpose of eating is not the taste. So what's the purpose of eating? To be healthy. That's really to have strength, to feed your body with the proper nutrients, so you have the energy and the strength to do what you need to do. He says the same thing is applicable for intimacy. What's the purpose of intimacy? To bring children, to raise kids. That's the purpose. The purpose is not the enjoyment of the moment. Because if it's the enjoyment of the moment, that it's irrelevant with who you're intimate with. You can also be intimate with an animal. That might give you even a better pleasure. Today, we see that very big contrast between like the humanity evolved to understand that you need to be very careful with what you eat, because what you eat has a tremendous impact on your body. That's why everybody's healthy. But when it comes to intimacy, humanity is not there yet. It's still very focused on the pleasure. But according to Ashkafat Torah, we eat to be strong, and we're intimate to reproduce and have children. So the tzaddik, says the Gaon, the purpose of the tzaddik, he sees his purpose in the behavior, in his action. Already from the beginning of the Perulah, there is already the kavanah of the tachlit. In his action, there is the thought of the purpose, of the outcome. So now, and the same thing with intimacy. The intimacy of a tzaddik, the purpose is for peruvu, for shalom bayit. There is in the action already the kavanah, the thought of the outcome, of the purpose. So says the Gaon, suddenly the action of the tzaddik becomes holy. It's now infused with the kavanah of the purpose, and therefore becomes infinite. The actual action. It's like the Mesilat Yesharim says, yes, when a tzaddik eats, it's like a akravat korbanot. It's like he brought the korban. So says Shlomo HaMelech, when you have the right kavanah, you have the right outlook in your behavior, then you know that you cannot let the awakening of the chomer, you cannot let your instinct dictate your behavior, because it will not be aligned with the purpose of the action. So what you have to do the reverse. You have to understand what the tachlit is, what the purpose is, and based on that purpose, make sure that your action is aligned with that purpose. And this is how you now have control over the chomer through the tzura. You have control over the instinct through how you shape it. This is the seder that we have to apply. Not from the instinct, holding it back and choking it and trying to figuring it out and to figure out how do I behave. But the other way around, the tzaddik is the one that has a purpose all the time, has a straight focus on what needs to be done. And therefore, from that, all his action is aligned with that. And if his action is aligned with that, by default, the behavior already will have a certain parameter and control over the instinct and the midot. That's pe'ulat tzaddik lechayim. However, tevuat rasha, the outcome of the rasha, the tevuah, the produce of the rasha, that even says again, even the tachlit, the purpose of the rasha lechatat is to make averot. Like the rasha is so crooked that even inside the outcome, the tachlit you find you see it's rotten. No good outcome can come from the Rasha. Why? Because the Rasha is set to satisfy his ta'avot, his desires. He's set to fuel, yes, the pleasures. So for him, what is the outcome? The outcome is pleasure, right? So essentially, everything stops where? Stops inside the chomer. So the tzura, the pe'ula, and the tachlit all exist within the parameters of the chomer, of the pleasures of the essence, of the instinct. So the Rasha never has a tzura. He never shapes up himself. And his pe'ula, his action, is never aligned with any tachlit. It's a very interesting and important outlook on our behavior. Yes, that we don't. This takes away a lot of aggravation. Why? Because when you let your instinct just be, and you decide to hold the instinct back because it's not aligned with chokhmah, so you choke yourself. Yeah, that can become very frustrating and nerve-wracking. But if you live your life based on the tachlit, based on the purpose, and every day you wake up, you look for the purpose. What is my purpose? What is the my obligation? What is expected from me? Ma Hashem shoel meimach, right? That's the purpose. What Hashem asks from me. So subconsciously already my behavior is aligned, right, with that purpose. So if there is already an instinct that's going to awake itself, not aligned with the purpose, I push it aside because that's already is a mafriya. It's bothering me. Versus the other way around, yeah. Clear? Any question on that?
Rabbi, when we spoke a little bit earlier, when you gave the example about the plant, right? We planting the seeds to grow the grain or the harvest, which the end result is the bread.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of the tzaddik, when you gave the case of the intimacy and the food, those are holy things, right? But how would a tzaddik look at the bread process? Meaning, if he made the bread, then okay, fine, no problem. Then he eats to better himself, to make himself stronger, like we said with food. But if the bread doesn't come out, how did he view the process beforehand? Meaning, if everything went well, then everything went well. But how does he explain it in the event that it doesn't go well?
He says that the tzaddik already at the time of the pe'ula, because the tzaddik looks for the tachlit, even if the tachlit doesn't happen, but because he looks for the tachlit, already his pe'ula is aligned is preset to get to that tachlit, to get to that outcome. So that's what pe'ula tzaddik lechaim.
So everything he's doing is with a purpose
is for a purpose. But even if at the end the outcome is not what he wants, but because it's aligned with the purpose and it's motivated by the purpose, his action itself, right, is already part of the purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next pasuk. Yud Zayin. I'll try to go to Yutet because it's one bulk. So Be'ezrat Hashem, we can do it. Yud Zayin. Orach lehayim shomer musar. Yeah, the way of the way to life is to keep shomer musar, is to keep discipline, right? The way to life is to have discipline, to be shomer, to keep discipline. The ozev tochachat, and the one that lets the tochacha, that disregards the tochacha, the rebuke, matai, right? Strays the way. Mistakens brings mistake. What is musar? We know that the Gaon in the beginning of also the beginning of the first perek. He says what is musar is when a person is brings isurim, yes, pain and sigufim and restrictions on the body, and through the pain that is afflicted on the person and the restrictions he has physically, this forces him to use his Yetzer Tov more over his Yetzer Hara. Because if you don't use your Yetzer Tov, if you're not forced to awake your Yetzer Tov, the pain and the restrictions, right, fuel the Yetzer Hara, right? It's easy. That's the Yetzer Hara. When a person is under pain, it's easy for him for his Yetzer Hara to kick in and throw the towel and get upset and angry and aggravated and question. Yes, that's the natural. So says the Gaon, what is Musar? Musar is when you target when you approach the Yisurim, you approach the pain and the restrictions with the Yetzer Tov, with a positive outlook, in order to learn from this pain, from these restrictions, and grow from it. So, and this pain and these restrictions can come from the person himself, right, through his own work and introspection, or the person can be put in these situations by others, or min hashamayim. Yeah, Akadosh Baruch Hu can bring isurim, lo alenu. People can hurt. That can be people, outside people. Yeah, third parties can bring isurim or sigufim, or the person himself. But in every situation, at the end of the day, the person, whether it's the person bringing it on himself, or from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or from third parties, at the end of the day, the behira, the choice the person has when he is himself facing those challenges, is or he naturally lets the Yetzer Hara take the lead, or he has the Yetzer Tov, he has the positive outlook on the situation, and find, how do I make myself better? How do I grow from this? How do I become stronger? Essentially, this is the only choice the person has when he's facing those challenges. So says Shlomo HaMelech, Orach lechaim, the path to life, shomer musar, is the one that knows how to control, to shomer, to protect the musar. Is someone that has that always has the Yetzer Tov, the positive outlook on the Yisurim. That's what brings him on the path of life. Tochacha, What is tochacha? Tochacha is verbal rebuke. Yes, is someone that verbally talks the musar and reprimands the person, right? So says Shlomo HaMelech, the person that knows how to approach the Yisurim, the challenges, the restrictions, the pain, from and he's looks for the positive in all these situations, as difficult as they are. Says the Gaon, this, the work and the approach to look at all these challenges from a positive light and see the good in it, this specifically, says the Gaon, is what brings the person on the path of life. His actual approach to the Yisurim. Why? He says because Ora Haim, the life, the paths of life, are revealed only through Yisurim and no other way. You cannot find the path of life without pain. Like they say, no pain, no gain. And like Derech Chaim, Tochachot Musar, we read it, right? We learned it. The path of life, Ze Tochacha and Musar. Chachamim tell us, Olam Haba, Ba'al Yidei Yisurim, right? Everything, Eretz Yisrael nikten be'Yisurim. So the Ora Haim, the path of life, must comes through the Yisurim, but not through the pain, through the elevation a person has from the pain. Because through the positive outlook and approach of a difficult situation, the person elevates himself above that pain because he's looking for the positive, right? And the fact that he's able to overcome the challenge and grow from it, this elevation, this effort is in itself Ora Haim, is in itself life. So Stanley asks, can you avoid the Yisurim by elevating yourself through Simcha? Based on this pasuk, no. Because the avodah that a person does through his elevation and his outlook on the Yisurim is what unlocks the Ora Haim, is what unlocks the path of life, and it's specific to it.
So you have to wait until Yisurim come?
No, Chazera, we don't want Yisurim. We don't call for Yisurim. Yes?
We don't call for them, but the only way to have real path of life is after dealing with Yisurim?
Everybody goes through Yisurim.
Correct.
Chachamim say if you put your hand in your pocket and you want to take a coin, 25 cents, and you took a 10 cent, that's also called Yisurim. Right? So every challenge, every situation or action that leads to uncomfort, is a form of Yisurim. Like it can grow until tremendous, the Yisurei Yov, right? Yisurei Tofek, yeah. That's we don't want. But basically what it's coming to teach us, that through the uprise, yes, through the rise of the nefesh above the Yisur, right? And the fight of pushing the Yetzer Hara and infusing the Yetzer Hatov, right? Pushing away the Yetzer Hara, which is the natural reaction of aggravation, of pain, of sadness, or whatever, by pushing it aside and pushing in the Yetzer Tov, this is how you bring life. Now you infuse into the Yisurim, into the pain, the Yetzer Tov, and you're infusing Chaim by doing that, and that elevates you above the Yisurim. This is essentially how you put yourself on the path of life. ועוזב תוכחת מטעה. But the one that is haste to be rebuked, or to be told what to do, or to be told when he's not doing something right, not only that person will never be on the Ora Haim, on the path of life, but even if he's on a good path, yat'eh, yes, he's going to steer, he's going to go on the wrong path. Why? Says the Gaon, because he's following his heart. And the heart and the instinct deviates, right? The instinct is not aligned naturally with the derech, the Ora Haim. So by default, by not allowing someone to rebuke you, by not being around someone that teaches you, right? And following your heart, eventually you're gonna end up going in the wrong direction and losing your way. Kol derech ish yashar be'enav. Yeah, that's the way we're going to read it later. Kol derech, a man thinks his path is always straight. That's the heart. But in reality, it's crooked. So what is the tutor that pushes us to be straight? Is the rebuke, is the musar, is the tochacha. And who's going to give you tochacha? The chacham, the rav, the abba, the ima, the people that love you. Now, good. Stanley, do you have, is it clearer now? Okay. Yes, okay, Baruch Hashem. All right. So, Pasuk Yudchet. Now, how do a person develops, yes, a behavior that is conducive for Ora Haim? That's Pasuk Yudchet. Shlomo Amer says like this: Mechase sin'a sifte shaker. Whoever covers up the hate, sifte shaker, okay, leads to lies, to lips that lie. Umotzi diba uksil, and whoever speaks diba lashon hara, bad, slanders, right, is a ksil, is a fool. Says the Gaon as follows: Ora Haim, if you want to live a way of life, somebody that wants to live a life of life, in a way of life, lishmor lishono, you have to be careful with your mouth. Like we David Amilas, mi ha'esh shechafetz chaim, ohev yamim lirot tov, netzor lishon chamera usfatecha midaber mirma, right? You want to live, if you want to be on a path of life, be careful with your mouth. Says Shlomo HaMelech, according to the Gaon, this is not only spiritually that you have to be careful not to talk lashon hara. Even in derech chaim, in the way of life, on the day-to-day, be careful, don't talk too much. Yema'ed b'diburo, don't talk too much. Why? And this is the message of Shlomo HaMelech. He says, because if you talk a lot, what's going to happen? If you're used to talk a lot, if somebody hurts you and you don't love him genuinely, so you have in your heart seen, that's what we saw earlier in the perek, right? So what's going to happen? Now the guy is in front of you. If you cannot hold yourself back, you're going to talk, but you're not going to want to expose the hate. So what you're going to say, you're going to say something that you don't really feel. So you're going to lie. You're forced to lie. That's mechase sin'ah. Whoever covers in his heart hate, sifte shaker, he's going to end up lying. And why is he going to end up lying? Because the person is used to talk a lot. So he cannot hold himself back from talking. Umotzi diva, however, the one that cannot hold himself back and talks, right? And he wants to be straightforward and honest, and he's gonna say what he has in his heart about and the hate that he feels for the person. Uksil is a fool. Why? Because now you've exposed yourself. You spoke to the guy and you told him how much you hate him. Right? Now what happens? The person that you just told that you hate and what he did to you is going to start hating you even more. So now you're the fool. Why? Because not only he's going to say, you see, look at how big of a rasha you are. You hate me. You're a bad guy. I'm the good guy. He's going to flip it on you. Now, what came out of this? Nothing. You just hurt yourself. So that's the ksil. So mimay nafshach, says Shlomo HaMelech, right? If you don't know how to close your mouth, you're going to end up being hurt, or because you're going to lie, and you lied, or because you're going to try to be honest and it backfires on you. So if you want to live a life of a way of life, orach haim, the ikar, says the Gaon, כי האורח החיים העיקרי הוא לשמור לשונו. If you want to live, the most important part of someone's life, if he wants to live a healthy life, is to learn to keep quiet. And Yutet continues with Yutchet. Berov devarim, yes, by saying a lot of words. Berov devarim, when there's too much talking. Lo yahdal pesha. There is no way. There is no restriction or frame on pesha, on averot. V'choser sefatav maskil, and whoever holds his lips, okay, maskil is the one that shows that he has sechel, he's intelligent. Why? Because says the Gaon, what happens after the situation that you've spoken? Even if you try to talk to the guy and please him and say, listen, that's not really what I meant, I'm sorry, right? You're not such a bad guy. Lo yahdal pesha. You don't clean the mess that you've organized. The guy will always feel that in your heart you really don't feel this way, and he will keep hating you. So trying to come and cover up on what you've said will not help. However, v'choser sefatav, but somebody that knows how to keep his mouth shut and stay quiet. Milechatchila. Maskil, says the Gaon, yatzliach. Maskil, it means he will be successful. So it's better not to engage. First of all, it's better not to hold sin'ah. That's minachatchila. But if already there is hard feelings, then teach yourself not to talk too much, so that you're not in situations where you're gonna pull it. Well, where you'll be in talking without realizing, and then you're in a mess.
Does this connect us back to a few psukim ago about ahava?
Vadai.
Sure.
Vadai.
Finding
That's if you have the yes, lechatchila, you have to be able to love. Yes, but here he's telling us, if you don't love, and you have this sin'ah, mechaseh sin'ah, and you cover it, so how, what's the way out? He says, learn to shut your mouth. Talk as minimum as little. Talk when you need to talk. Lemaise.
But I'm confused with what Yudchet says. Mechaseh sinah sifte shaker. If you're mechaseh sinah, what?
At the end, if you have heart and you hate and you cover it up, you keep it in your heart. When the time comes and you talk, you meet that person that hurt you, that you hate.
Oh, you will lie about
You're
it.
going to end up lying, because you're not going to want to expose yourself. And if you're ksil, and if you're full, and you actually do expose yourself, not only that you didn't gain anything, but now the person will hate you even more, and he's going to hold it against you. He's going to say, look how big of a rasha you are. I'm the tzaddik.
So we should cover it?
You should cover it and make sure not to talk. Because the least you speak, and the more you can retain yourself from talking.
Rabbi, this is
hold on, yeah. Yes, good. So by learning how to behave and to be quiet, then when there's a confrontation, you know what to say and what not to say. They might say, but if you don't teach yourself to be reserved in terms of and not talk too much, when the situation will come, the confrontation will come, you'll talk, and then you're in trouble. So,
Zuckerberg, thank you.
בשורות טובות, בהצלחה לכולם.
תודה רבה, תודה רבה.
Thank you.